The arena of sovereigns was not built for fairness. It was built for spectacle. Tiered seating rose in vast metallic arcs, housing over 60,000 spectators from 14 species. Floating banners shimmered above the combat platform. Energy dampeners hummed faintly beneath the floor to prevent structural collapse from high-impact exchanges. At the center stood a circular field of reinforced alloy, scorched from countless duels. And today's duel was supposed to be simple. A demonstration. The Zha'kari Dominion had requested a public evaluation of human combat durability. Rumors had circulated across the Council networks for months. Claims that humans survive conditions that should liquefy internal organs. That they tolerated heat levels beyond atmospheric norms. That their skeletal density adapted under pressure. The Dominion had laughed. Now they wanted proof. Or humiliation. Commander Arlen Vey stood near the arena boundary, arms folded behind his back. He wore no visible armor, only a dark Terran field coat with subtle insignia. His expression was unreadable. Beside him stood Lieutenant Mara Kincaid. Human, 28, lean, compact build, blonde hair pulled back into a tight braid. Calm blue eyes. No visible exoskeleton. No shielding rig. No augmentation implants detectable on scans. Across the platform stood the Zha'kari champion, Velrath, 3 meters tall, plated in natural heat-resistant chitin. The Zha'kari were a volcanic species, born on a high-pressure world with active magma fields and atmospheric plasma storms. Their military doctrine emphasized thermal dominance. Velrath did not carry a blade. He carried a plasma emitter, mounted along his forearm, a sanctioned arena variant, scaled down from battlefield artillery, but still capable of instant disintegration at close range. The announcer's voice boomed across the structure. Demonstration parameters, single strike durability evaluation. Human subject will attempt to withstand Zha'kari plasma discharge. Output capped at 40% lethal threshold. A murmur rippled through the crowd. 40%. Still catastrophic. Enough to melt reinforced alloy. Commander Vey didn't move. He had approved this. Mara stepped forward onto the central platform. No visible tension. She rolled her shoulders once. Flexed her fingers. Velrath studied her with glowing, ember-like eyes. "You understand," he rumbled, voice echoing with internal resonance. "This will vaporize unprotected tissue." Mara nodded once. "Probably." The crowd laughed nervously. Velrath's crest flared faintly. "You carry no shielding." "No." "You carry no thermal field." "No." Velrath angled his emitter arms slightly downward, calibrating. "Then why do you remain?" Mara tilted her head slightly. "Because you're going to aim center mass." Velrath paused. The crowd leaned forward. Mara extended one arm slightly at her side. Relaxed. Not defensive. Commander Vey watched the Zha'kari calibration feed through his lens. Plasma core temperature climbing. Emitter coils stabilizing. 40% output. Still far beyond human survivability, according to Council models. The announcer continued. Zha'kari plasma technology harnesses magnetically contained superheated ionized particles, exceeding. "Fire," Velrath said. The emitter roared to life. A blinding lance of blue-white plasma erupted from his forearm, streaking across the short distance toward Mara. The arena gasped. Even at reduced output, the blast distorted the air. Heat shimmer rippled outward in violent waves. The reinforced floor beneath the beam began to glow faintly at the edges. Mara did not step back. She did not dive. She did not raise a shield. She lifted her right hand, open palm, and pressed it forward. The plasma strike hit. The arena expected explosion. Incineration. Instead, the blast collapsed inward. Not extinguished. Contained. The plasma flattened against her palm like liquid striking glass. A sphere of violent blue-white energy bloomed outward from her hand, magnetically contained in a shimmering distortion field no one had detected activating. Gasps erupted across the arena. The plasma did not disperse. It spiraled, compressed. Velrath's eyes widened. What? The emitter whined as feedback sensors detected reflected containment pressure. Mara's arm trembled slightly. Not from pain. From control. The blast continued pouring from Velrath's emitter, and continued slamming into her palm. But instead of burning through her flesh, it bent, curved, folded inward like a stream of water hitting an invisible wall. The sphere of contained plasma grew brighter. denser. The air vibrated violently. Commander Vey's expression did not change. The Dominion observers leapt to their feet. No shield activation detected. That is impossible. Velrath tried to disengage the emitter. It wouldn't shut down. The containment feedback loop had locked. The plasma beam now formed a tight, spiraling vortex between Velrath's arm and Mara's palm. The platform beneath her boots began to fracture from the heat bleed. Mara took one step forward, still holding the plasma. Her eyes never left Velrath's. The audience realized something horrifying. She wasn't blocking it with technology. She was redirecting it. Velrath roared and cut power manually. The emitter sputtered and died. But the sphere of plasma still burned in Mara's hand. Contained, compressed, bright enough to sear afterimages into every spectator's vision. She closed her fingers slightly. The sphere shrank, condensed, until it was no larger than a glowing orb resting against her palm. The arena was silent, completely silent. Velrath took one slow step back. "What are you?" he whispered. Mara exhaled once. Her palm rotated, and she flicked her wrist. The compressed plasma shot upward into the air in a harmless arc, detonating high above the arena in a controlled flash that triggered the upper shield grid. Shockwaves rippled outward. Silence returned. Mara lowered her arm. The skin of her palm was reddened, but intact. She flexed her fingers once. The scorched floor beneath her boots smoldered faintly. Velrath stared. Commander Vey finally stepped forward to the edge of the platform. 40%, he said calmly. "You may increase output." The arena collectively forgot how to breathe. Velrath's voice came slower now. "That was a field." Mara shook her head. "No." "Then how?" She looked at her palm briefly. "Your plasma follows magnetic containment lines." Velrath stiffened. "You cannot generate a containment field unassisted." Mara's gaze returned to him. "Humans evolved under a magnetosphere 10 times stronger than most council worlds." The crowd shifted uneasily. She stepped back into position. Again, Velrath hesitated. The Dominion observers argued loudly in their section. "This violates evaluation protocol. Thermal nullification unknown." Commander Vey spoke without raising his voice. "You asked for durability." The arena lights dimmed slightly as emergency recalibration protocols activated. Velrath's emitter hummed again, this time louder, hotter. The output display climbed past 40%. 45. 50. The crowd held its breath. Mara raised her hand again. The plasma core ignited, and Velrath fired. The second blast was not a demonstration. It was proof. Velrath's emitter screamed as output surged past regulated arena parameters. 50%. 55. The containment coils glowed molten orange along his forearm. Output exceeding demonstration limit. The arena, AI warned. No one interrupted. 60%. The plasma beam that erupted this time was thicker, whiter, hot enough to ionize the air before it even crossed the platform. Mara did not wait for impact. Her hand was already raised. The beam struck her palm, and the arena floor cracked outward in a spiderweb fracture. This was no longer a gentle containment bloom. The plasma collided against her open hand and bent violently, twisting around an invisible axis. A halo of distorted air rippled outward, bending light around her arm. The blast did not burn through her. It wrapped. The plasma coiled around her forearm in spiraling ribbons, magnetically disrupted and rechanneled. The audience shield grid flickered as excess radiation spiked. Velrath felt it immediately. Emitter feedback, not resistance. Interference. His eyes widened. "You are altering the containment stream." Mara's boots slid half an inch against the scorched platform as she absorbed the force. Muscles in her shoulder tightened, but she did not retreat. Commander Vey watched her vitals stream across his private lens. Elevated heart rate, thermal skin stress climbing, adrenaline within safe tolerance. Her body temperature rising, still stable. The beam intensified. 65%. The arena lights dimmed automatically to compensate for brightness overload. The plasma around her arm condensed again, no longer forming a sphere, but compressing into a tight spiral vortex around her palm. The crowd began to understand something deeply uncomfortable. This wasn't technology. No shield signature. No emitter on her body. No energy field projection. It was interaction. Biological interaction. Velrath's voice rumbled through clenched mandibles. No species can withstand direct plasma contact at this level. Mara answered through steady breath. You're not wrong. The spiral condensed further. The air around her shimmered violently. She stepped forward. Into the beam. The platform beneath Velrath's feet glowed faintly as reflected heat returned through the containment stream. Core temperature destabilizing, an arena technician shouted. Velrath cut power abruptly. The beam snapped off, but the compressed vortex remained in Mara's hand, brighter than before. The spiral tightened into a concentrated orb no larger than a clenched fist. Silence descended. 60,000 beings staring at the human standing in the middle of a molten scorch mark. Her palm glowed red. Steam curled faintly from her skin, but the flesh was intact. Velrath lowered his arm slowly. What are you? Mara flexed her fingers once. The plasma orb pulsed between them like a captive star. You generate plasma through magnetic confinement, she said evenly. High-energy ion streams guided along stable field lines. Velrath said nothing. You assume the containment remains stable in any environment, she continued. It doesn't. The Dominion observers leaned forward. Explain, one demanded. Mara glanced briefly toward Commander Vey. He gave the smallest nod. She opened her palm slightly. The orb flared brighter. Earth's magnetosphere is violent, she said. Constant solar interaction. Fluctuating field strength. Humans evolved under that pressure. Velrath's crest dimmed slightly. That does not grant biological magnetic manipulation. No, Mara agreed. But it grants tolerance. She looked down at her own hand. Our nervous system runs on electrical signaling. Our muscles contract through bioelectric impulse. Under extreme stress, those signals spike. Velrath stared. You are inducing localized electromagnetic disruption. Mara nodded. Your plasma containment destabilizes when it encounters fluctuating magnetic gradients. The arena fell silent again. She wasn't absorbing the plasma. She was corrupting its containment. The orb pulsed harder. Her skin was reddening now, minor blistering at the edges of her palm. But she did not show pain. Velrath's voice dropped to a near whisper. You are using your body as a variable magnetic interference field. Mara gave a faint half-smile. Pretty much. The Dominion Council section erupted in low, urgent debate. Unpredictable field instability. Plasma reliance compromised. Siege doctrine vulnerability. Commander Vey stepped forward slightly. Your species built its dominance around thermal superiority, he said calmly. Most council species evolved in stable electromagnetic environments. Their biology doesn't interfere with your containment. Velrath understood. Humans were different. Not immune to plasma, but disruptive to it. The orb in Mara's hand began to flicker erratically. Her breathing grew heavier now. Commander Vey spoke quietly. That's enough, Lieutenant. She nodded once. With a controlled motion, she thrust her arm upward. The compressed plasma launched skyward in a brilliant arc and detonated high above the arena shield grid in a contained explosion of light. The shockwave rolled outward harmlessly. The platform fell silent again. Smoke curled around Mara's hand. She lowered it slowly. Blisters had formed along her palm and fingers. Minor burns. Manageable. Velrath stared at her. You harmed yourself. Yes. Why? She met his gaze evenly. Because you needed to see it. The words landed heavier than the blast had. Commander Vey addressed the arena. Humans are not immune to plasma. We are not fireproof. He gestured toward Mara's hand. We bleed. We burn. A pause. But your primary weapon system relies on stable containment physics. He looked at Velrath directly. Against us, that stability cannot be assumed. Velrath's massive frame remained motionless. For the first time in his career, the certainty of thermal dominance had fractured. On a battlefield, he said slowly. This would destabilize coordinated plasma volleys. Yes, Commander Vey replied. And in close quarters. Your advantage collapses. The Dominion observers were no longer arguing. They were calculating. Plasma-heavy fleets. Orbital bombardment relying on stable ion stream channels. Planetary assaults dependent on thermal shock. All of it assumed environmental compliance. Humans were environmental noncompliance. Velrath lowered his emitter fully. The demonstration is concluded. Mara flexed her fingers again, wincing slightly now as sensation returned. Medical drones drifted toward the platform perimeter. She ignored them. The arena remained silent for several seconds longer. Not out of shock. Out of recalibration,